I wish I was tall enough to pull off this jumpsuit that you've got. Like there are certain things you can't wear when you're my height.
Smaller people have such an advantage. You could do way more pull-ups.
You named one thing. Hi, I'm Ramy Youssef. This is my co-star, Mahershala Ali.
Peace.
Was that good?
That felt natural.
That was good energy?
Yeah.
We're going to play a clip, and it's the clip of you and I in the hotel at the end of our season.
Let's do it.
Zainab. Zainab. Sheikh. Oh, where's Zainab at?
Zainab's gone.
Sheikh.
I blame myself. I let you into my world. Into my daughter's world.
No, it's not, look, it was my fault. It was a misunderstanding. It's not your fault. It's not Zainab's fault.
No one's blaming Zainab.
No, of course. I know that. I just wanted you to know that I know that, so that we can kind of just be on the same page about it. Sheikh, look, maybe what if I'm just gonna put some clothes on, yeah? I'll put something on, and then we could all get together, like me and you and Zainab. We could just like maybe say a dua about forgiveness, right? Just as a family. Or if there's something else that you recommend.
I'm trying to calm myself. I'm making wudu.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I'll make wudu too. I might have to shower. Like I think it might be like a ghusl situation because of last night, but.
Nico Azzolini is dead.
Who?
The man your friend Dennis beat to a pulp outside of our masjid. He died.
Oh, that's terrible. I mean, the guy did want all Muslims to die. Like he said that, but that doesn't mean that he should have.
Congrats on your dramatic actor nomination, brother. How's the journey been with you post-release of the show? Considering your name is Ramy and your show is called Ramy.
But the funny thing is, people also tell me, "Hey, Remy, I love the show," because they don't know how to pronounce my name.
That's funny. Yeah. But my point is, though, considering like when you look at these shows like, I don't know, Dave, or like these shows that are kind of like named Louis, or like shows that are like named after the star, that are some iteration of themselves, but obviously heightened and twisted and all this stuff. Has it made it more complicated? Because it's interesting seeing a couple of little like bits online, the vitriol and the way that people are mad at you personally, as if like you really did this.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it's like the thing when you usually go out and make a show that is kind of based off your name and off yourself. I feel like a lot of people kind of put themselves in a situation where it's like, oh, I'm like lovably troubled, but like it's kind of a bit idyllic, and it's kind of like, oh, you're very much rooting for the person.
Kind of aspirational in their troubledness.
Yeah, totally aspirational, and that's like not exactly the route.
Like, I want to be troubled like that.
But this is kind of one where it's just like, oh man, like why is this dude doing this? And I think, to me, the internal dialogue making this, and we obviously talked a lot about this, right? Because your character in this show really helped me do the thing I really wanted to do, which was like, I want to show this stripped down ego version of my character, but I also really want to show the way that we can kind of all be ugly, and like we can like really show something in us that's like, oh man, I can't believe I have that in me.
No, it is me. I know it's me, and wallahi, I won't lie to you again. I know I can be better.
I don't think this is gonna work.
That's something that I think we always kind of try to hide, and it's been really exciting to use fiction to really live that and to really go into that, because so much of that character is just like, oh, this is who I'm afraid of becoming. This is who, if I went left instead of right, I could be that person. And that's exciting for me. That's just, as a performer, that's exciting, because I don't want to just be playing myself. Like, we're both obviously like, actors, and we're like charming people, and like I don't want to make a show where I'm just like charming baristas and I'm just like, hey, like thank like it would be so unchallenging, not fun, and also kind of weird, because then it's like, well, what are you really trying to say, so this has been there's a sacrifice though, for sure, because a lot of people will really come at it like, it's the same guy, the same person, and they're very upset.
I'm being honest, when I was a kid, there was always this like small part of me that wished one of my parents would die, just so I could like have like a thing.
I mean, because you had your unlikable moments last year, which personally is I know what you're doing. I could recognize it like so many other people can, obviously, and really appreciate the journey that your character is going on. Is it going into this season and the series of F-ups that you so beautifully perform, don't be humble in this, like, because I need a real answer. I don't need the Muslim humility answer. Can you talk about like the courage that took, like even experiencing, and maybe you didn't feel that, because that's impressive too, but like perhaps writing in things and being like, man, I don't want to, that makes him too unlikable, or I want to, because I imagine there has to be a consciousness in every ingredient you put towards building this character, the namesake of the show, so how much courage did that take to kind of keep moving forward in Ramy's emotional, experiential evolution?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you bring up like the Muslim humble answer, because I think a lot of what I think about, and I know a lot of what you think about too, and on a level, which is kind of what's really drawn us to making this show and making a lot of choices that we did, is I think a lot about the various Muslim communities who are going to watch it, and this show is for them, despite. Maybe some people see that. There are definitely people who are like, oh yeah, I get, this is like conversations we can be having. And then there's others who see it and are very upset because, I actually think sometimes rightfully so, because I think when we talk about representation, what is really difficult about it is that the audience, especially an audience like ours, which is a very varied and very diverse audience, is inherently in an unfair position. Because basically there's been no attempt to show Muslim characters in any vein outside of, the bombs going off.
And never from their point of view.
Not even trying, And so we are, as an audience, in a very unfair position, right? Because there's this scarcity. And then marketing comes along. And then hype comes along and they go, yo, Muslims. They don't even know who they're talking to. It's just like Muslims. Like, it's just like this group.
Check it out.
We have a show for you. Like, you have been represented. check it out, it's you. And then like you watch the show and you're like, this is a show about an Arab who jerks off too much. That's not
Right.
me. You know, like
Right.
it's so clear that that's
Right.
not, that you can't put this entire group into this idea, but that's what happens, right? And so I think to tie it to your question, the courage or the fear, what it really does is like I'm thinking about this and I'm like, man, I'm really presenting this character in this way. I know the scarcity in our community in what we have to watch, and I'm kind of balancing this idea of making something timely or trying at least to make something timeless. To me, the most timeless things really sit in a character's flaws. The most timely thing is something that can come out and just make us look good and be kind of like this, like, good PR hit.
A band-aid for the moment.
Yeah, Band-Aid for the moment. Oh my God, look how friendly we are. Man, this guy's just trying his darndest, and it's like kind of cute, and it makes everyone feel like, oh wow, people can see, how great we are. I know how great we are. We all know how great
Right.
we are. Like we don't need
Right.
to. We don't like. I want to skip that step, and I want to get into how this dude is actually got some homegrown problems that he needs to get through and he needs to figure out. And so making that jump though, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of people who really don't see it that way, and a lot of people who don't separate fiction from reality, and who just like really hate the character and really hate me. Yeah, man, it definitely is like this thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that, and there's a part of me that's almost like, yeah, but you know what, like I'm almost kind of like, I've given up the right to my likeness in a way, right? Where I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what, it's to be picked apart. Like I'm kind of me, but I'm not me. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that if the story can do what it wants, which for me, again, that's what's so cool about having your character, right? Because, and I
Yeah.
think we talked about that. I have wanted to present a story where we can see faith and aspirational faith, which I think people all over the world have, no matter what their faith is, in name. But it's never really presented with any levity or reality, right? Because it's always very
Right.
sanitized.
So therefore, it's still you can't relate to it in your own life properly because it's so clean, or it's either people are angelic or they're hellish, in a certain way.
And so because allowing so then allowing my character to be as everything as he is, in my mind, sets the stage for your character, for this sheikh who is, in my mind, so nuanced, and like you see his waves, and you see his flaws, like in a way, like his flaws almost, he loves too much. Like he's
Right.
so forgiving that it actually ends up creating an entanglement in his home life.
Right.
But in order to really make something like that work, like there's no Sheikh Ali without Ramy, and Ramy doesn't make sense without Sheikh Ali. And so it's dope. I mean, like, look, it's my name. If I went back, would I change that it was my name? I don't know, but there's no point in going back. But it is like, to me, it's really important that both these characters exist. And, I think I'm willing to sacrifice any sort of like temporary personal reputation.
You're like, because I got season 3, I'm coming back.
I got season 3, bro. I got season 3.
Yeah, I want to go back to something real quick. So I just want to recognize that pressure that you speak about Ramy having to be all things to all people, which I feel so familiar with as an African American. Remove the Muslim aspect of it for a moment.
Yeah.
That our projects have to like fit in so much, and they always have to teach, and they always have to do these certain things, and it's got to check every box so everyone is, and it's impossible. And so you, at the end of the day, you just got to go back to what you are, what the story is, and just tell the story as truthfully as possible, But what I love about your character is that it connects to a sort of this basic tenet in Islam. A couple of things, actually. One being like that you don't really get to say someone's not a Muslim. Like you don't, if someone takes the Shahada, if they say that, there is none worthy of worship except God, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. Once you've done that, according to Islam, you're Muslim, like period, right? Like nobody can take that away from you. That's between you and God, right? So there's that element of it. But then the thing that I think is really interesting is the thing about Islam really focusing on going from darkness into light. And people have to respect that process. And I don't care what it looks like to you from your perspective, because you're not God and you don't get to say and be in judgment of someone else's journey like that. You can do it, but I believe you would get called out for that at a certain point in the next life, you know, just purely speaking as a Muslim, right? So what I appreciate why your character is so productive to me personally is, yeah, we see a bunch of craziness, but what is the intention, right? As Islam always speaks about the intention, like what is your niyat? And the intention behind what the show is doing, isn't this a conversation about the effort to evolve? The whole thing with Islam too is you do something wrong, do you feel remorse for it? Because if you don't feel remorse, then you can't really get that slate cleaned, right? So you see Ramy doing stuff and then feeling bad about it and trying to work it out and all right, now setting a new intention and then screwing up again. And it's just this constant like tug of war between these righteous intentions or clean, good intentions, and then kind of the mind body kind of getting involved and going in a different direction. But the effort doesn't stop. He doesn't just say screw it, even if that's coming. And I don't know. Maybe Ramy is like, I'm agnostic now for a while. I don't know. But my point is that just to see somebody wrestling with the things that he's only calling out about himself because his religion basically calls him to call himself out on that, right? And that right there to me is so valuable to see a character. And you could take Islam off of it. You could put Christianity. You could just put like name a theology, ideology.
The idea of like trying to reach your potential, trying to reach, you know, who you know you can be. And so it's like I talk about this a bunch where I'll be like, sure, it could be, you know, the episode where you watch Ramy start Ramadan with super high hopes and then he completely falls. That to me is the same struggle as the person who wants to change their life and wakes up and goes for a jog at 6 a.m. and then at 1:30 a.m. they're in the McDonald's parking lot and they're just eating away their pain and everything has kind of dissolved and it's like, wow, like I'm a different person from who I was, you know, 15 hours ago. Like I couldn't even be more opposite of that. And so I think what's interesting too here, and you talk, and obviously like it's so many of these conversations have been like at the bedrock of us like figuring out what we were doing with the season, you know, between us and kind of like, and I think something that I want to ask you, because I know how it plays out for me, but it was really interesting, you know, when and I don't know how many people know this, but when I asked you to play the Sheikh and you didn't say yes right away, but not for the reason that people might think. It wasn't because of your schedule, because you were like, oh, whoa, like I really care about this portrayal, because we obviously care about what we're portraying in this show. It's not just like it's not like some outsider perspective and we're doing it to like fill the niche of a market. It's like what we actually care about. And so I think from a performance place, what I'm really interested in, because I don't know how many actors go through this, and I'm sure there's a section, but like how many actors are really entering a role that is so weighted, not only with that community perception, but also with the personal belief that's kind of tied to things that aren't even worldly. So you're taking all that on. And then how do you shift into, now I'm just going to be an actor and they just called action and cut? What does that line look like? What does that shift look like? How did you do that? Because really that sheikh is it's something different. I think it's a different role for you.
It is a different role for me. I was surprised by how the pressure of that part articulated itself in me, if that makes sense. Like it's one thing to have an idea about something. Like when you first asked me, I told you, like, look, man, I gotta go pray on this because like, I don't know, bro. Like that's a big, not that I didn't know, but that sounds amazing, but like, whoo, man, that's a big ask. Like, let me go, let me really go like process that, right? And I think I was a little bit surprised by after I said yes to it, and we didn't talk a lot after that because it was really like a more like, yo, I trust you, you got it, like that's cool, that sounds great, and And again, we had a few conversations, but like I knew, I trusted what was going to happen. I was just trying to prepare myself and the time that I had to like mentally, spiritually take it on, you know? And like I felt like I needed to be as clear as possible energetically before I like stepped into playing somebody who again has all the qualities that I aspire to have.
It's not our time. Discipline, Ramy. It's a muscle.
I think if anything, more than any other character, it was really kind of challenging myself in my personal life to really be mindful of the things that make Sheikh Ali go, right? That fuel his engine, right? And so all these characters have something to offer you, right? That you hope 20 years later you'll look back and say like, man, I remember I got that from that character. Every character that I've played, there was something that I was lacking. There was something that I hadn't tightened the screws on yet, you know? And that could be, I remember I was on this little sci-fi show in like 2011 or something with and David Strathairn. And I needed that job at that time. I was just going through a lot. I just lost my grandfather. It was like financially things were like crazy. Like we'd come out of this dip. And I remember just feeling how that time and that period, how it just kind of like impacted my confidence in the world, right? I just felt smaller and I felt just frustrated, right? Just in general. And I remember I got this one character and I was playing this sort of like this FBI, CIA type military guy, like this commander guy. And what was challenging about that part was the fact that I really had to be my fullest self. I had to be 6'2". I had to be in my body. I had to be present. I couldn't be soft spoken. I had to be in it. And I remember thinking at that time that this thing is going to force me out of my comfort zone, out of what has become my comfort zone, and sort of allow me to force me to be more grounded and be more present in life, you know. And playing that part, it impacted my consciousness, not just on set, because to do that on set, I had to do it in the world. To then go to be able to naturally do it on set. That's a long way to get to.
Then you start really like feeling your height, right? And then it's like, whoa, like 9 years later, now you can wear this jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And like, you might not have been able to wear this jumpsuit like 9 years ago.
Yes.
You might not have been able to, you know what I mean? Like, if like, you know.
Well, it's worse now. They can kill you online real quick.
But like for real, like some, you know, I can imagine living in the world that we do. There might have been, I'm sure, times where you felt like you've had to minimize your body and your size and like who you are when people first see you. Like now you're this famous dude, but like how long were you walking around trying to be small? And then like you play a role where you're like, no, wait, I need to feel my body in a way that I might have been afraid to because of the ramifications that come from doing that.
No one has ever articulated that. And it's something that I've wrestled with my entire life. No one has ever said that to me. And that is a common problem. I don't want to speak for Black women, I'll just assume, but for Black men and friends that I have, especially being a former athlete, I'm one of the smaller guys that I'm close to, you know? And so there's this idea of being a Black man in the world. It's an interesting thing just navigating these spaces. And the more successful you are, the smaller you have to make yourself actually at times. You're finding that your presence is constantly can be disruptive without any effort on your part. And so then you start trying to find ways to find ways to not be noticed, or you can find ways to when people are aware of you, that they're comfortable. Because that mass discomfort that you experience on a regular basis every day it's so uncomfortable for you. So whether you are signing up for that or not, or super conscious of it or not, there are constantly these things where you're doing to try to take the edge off so you don't have to deal with this BS, so you don't get pulled over, so you don't get like different things that you got to do to get that job. You got to make sure you're buttoned up and whatnot, because you're not going to get a shot there. You're going in fighting a negative perception of you that you didn't necessarily help to create. And so you're trying to clear out all that stuff all the time. And sometimes that's by you just making yourself small and going like, yo, I'm not one that is going to disrupt you.
Yeah, in that process, you're like it's almost like you're less even like in your own body, right? Just so that doesn't threaten other people, and then that's like then you just walk around. You're like kind of less you, right? Like because of what being full you could do, and that's like such a crazy gift of acting that like you would do this. This sci-fi role that like maybe in the scheme of things doesn't mean anything, but because you got to act it and you like have to really like fully be all your height, that's such a gift, right? And that's something I don't think about. Like, if I'm fully my whole body, like if I'm walking around, like people they're like, oh, this guy's gonna try and sell me a car, or like maybe they're afraid that I'm gonna like pull out a harmonica or something. But like for you to really like feel your whole presence, and knowing that does something to people, yeah, that's such a gift to like get a role that like kind of reconnects you to something that.
But it's not something that doesn't wear on you though. Like it doesn't get easier. And I think the only time that kind of thing could get easier is in a global moment like this, where people are a little more subtly aware of some of the things of systematic racism. But then like at a certain point that can just become a word, right? It can just become like an idea, and you begin to like, there's just certain things that we've heard so much that they start to get dumbed down on, as far as like, and having real resonance and meaning to us, the emotional traffic of mental health, right? Is at a certain point you hear mental health so much, and then people just, think of a celebrity who's got mental health issues and just, that's the poster child for it. But there's so much emotional traffic that is going on for people and pressure. And if we begin to sort of understand things with language that I think resonates for us more personally, I think we have a better idea of what it is that people are really, really dealing with. And I just think for myself and for so many Black men, this idea of you're a threat and trying to give these signals off that you're not a threat is exhausting, and it's minimizing.
It's like acting, but it's like, at least with a script, it's a script, but then you almost kind of have to like act a different life out, which is it's wild. And I kind of want to just circle back to something, just to kind of the point you were making about kind of each role, you take something different away, and I love working with you. It's like it's so amazing in terms of just being able to like kind of ask each other questions, and then like I think I feel like there was just like a couple scenes we'd shoot and then like kind of hug after, because we were like, whoa, man, that was kind of whoa, that kind of like did a thing.
Like the one at the beginning of this talk, like that scene, that was a hug day. We had to hug that out.
That was a hug day. I mean, but I'm curious just to because I really saw you kind of and there were some moments you had told me and about kind of how the process was like a little bit different for you on what we were doing, and I'm curious if maybe you could just just as we like round this out, like articulate that a little bit, because I really appreciated how you approached it and how kind of like open you were about that, because I think it made everything so much better.
I was either gonna die on your show or get better. I mean, as an actor, like I do. And, like I want to say that off the top. So I didn't die. So I think I improved. And why I say that, and again, I don't say that with any ego, God forbid. But why I say that is because it's so hard working on your show because it has this workshop quality, which actors love often, right? And I just hadn't been around. There's only a couple times I've got to work in some fashion like that, where you got the script and it's terrific, but you really might be like tweaking moments here and there quite a bit. Or it might be like, all right, throw that away now. Let's just kind of like improv this moment and find something. Things are just different every time out. And so at the end of the day, you're not sure what you got. You just know that there's a general positive feeling, but you're not quite sure what you captured, right? And so the type of trust that it takes for actors to really kind of give over to that process and to let go of control, right? Like you just, because you're trying to control your instrument, you want to control as much as you can, but you got to just let go. And so it's just challenging standing on your toes, facing forward the way that you have to on that show, and just be ready for anything. And I'm so appreciative of it because I think I was emotionally, mentally, just spiritually, just exhausted by the sort of 3-year stretch between Moonlight and Green Book and all like projects, and just so much of my world changing, that I just needed to be quiet for a while. And so I didn't know how I even felt about acting for a moment, honestly. Like I felt, and I don't mean it like some goofy, like thought about retirement announcement. I don't mean that. I just was it. The flip side of like having some sort of agreed upon success is that it can so easily change your relationship with the work, because this thing that you've been fighting for 15, 20 years, suddenly like you have some version of it, and then it flips where like nobody cared, and then now everybody cares, and you're like, so what move do I make next, you know? And so going on your show felt like it felt like the antidote or the serum for me. Like it felt like, here's an opportunity to work on something that I think I'll have a little space to breathe. I can kind of remove some pressure from myself and add healthy pressure by giving myself a point of focus and something to like really work on and work through. And considering that it was your show with sort of your voice and sort of this larger agenda or point of the show, it was just the perfect like vehicle for me to step in and really challenge myself. And so I'm always nervous on sets because I always feel like a fraud. You know, I think that's a common thing with actors. You're like, how did I get this job or whatever? So I definitely felt that here for sure. But to be able to string together with you and the rest of the cast and crew, shout out to everybody involved with making your show. I just felt like I had the people around me that I needed to lean on to do something that I knew that I couldn't just do on my own, you know. And it was something where I walked away feeling like I grew mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but I also felt like I picked up some tools from you, you know, from not being able to overthink about things. The way you would just go from direct, like giving notes on a scene to rewriting something, and next thing you know, you're popping in acting on something. Then everyone's like waiting around, sitting on set. They're like, "Where's Ramy? Oh, he's making prayer. Okay, 1 second, 5 more minutes, and you come back out. We all work, and it was amazing, man. It was amazing. So just an honor to get to build and work with you,
dude. It was such an honor to work with you.
What for you can you sort of begin to articulate now, having put 2 seasons together that you've been responsible for, and also obviously leading the way as an actor? What have you gotten from it?
It's to what you're speaking to in a sense. I mean, I think the directing acting balance has been,
and writing.
I know. It's like I'm doing rewrites and coming to your trailer with the new
and set design and sending people mattresses. You do all kind of jobs. You got all kind of jobs.
One of my favorite things actually would be you defending my past writing. I'd be like, no, man, that monologue sucked. And you'd be like, no, it was great. And I'd be like, no, dude, I wrote it. I'm telling you, it sucks. And you'd be like, no, I really want to do it. And I'm like, all right, do it. And then it's like, great. And I'm like, okay, you were right. Like, I feel like I'm just constantly constantly hating past me. I'm like, that guy's, no, he didn't know what he was talking about. And so you were really grounding for me too. Your filter is amazing. And I think like I've just, to put it simply, I've just continued to refine my own filter and kind of figure out where my lines are and really continuing to hone in on the tone that makes me excited. And so I learned the most in the edit. And so I remember after season 1, I learned a lot in the edit, and that went into how I wanted to write. And then this season, again, I saw stuff in the edit and I was like, ooh, like, I can't wait to do the third season. I think I texted you. I was like, yo, like between season 1, season 2, looking at these edits, I feel like I think I know the sauce for season 3. Like just because it's like, it's such, it's literally reviewing everything, right? It's like the edit is reality, and it's where I'm watching all the acting. I'm watching myself. I'm watching what everyone's doing, and I'm kind of seeing everyone's genius. Like everyone on the show is an amazing actor. Like yes. To me, any of our nominations are like only because of everyone on the show. And so
lifting everything else up.
I love you, man. It's been so fun. And I can't wait to keep going with you. It's yes, the best,
brother.
Man.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, man.
I appreciate you. Wa alaikum salam.